Besties, come even closer because this story is about to go deeper, rower, and more powerful than you can imagine. I'm not done yet. Let's walk with Queen Lulu through every tear, every victory, every moment that turned a broken village girl into the legend whose name mothers still whisper to their daughters at night when they braid their hair. Let's go back to the morning after the scissors. The sun rose red that day, like the sky itself was bleeding for Lulu. She sat on the mud floor surrounded by her severed braids, each one thick as a rope, each one carrying 13 years of her mother's fingers, 13 years of bedtime stories, 13 years of "You are my princess." She picked one braid up, pressed it to her heart, and sobbed so hard her ribs hurt. "Mama, they killed the last piece of you," she whispered. The pain was so deep she felt it in her bones. She wanted to die right there. But then something happened. A small voice, soft like morning birds, rose inside her chest. "Lou, your heart is your real crown." It was Mama Aisha's voice, clear as if she was sitting right behind her. Lulu closed her eyes, breathed in that voice like oxygen, and something shifted. The tears kept falling, but now they were angry tears, warrior tears. She stood up slowly, legs shaking, picked up every single braid from the floor, wrapped them carefully in her mother's old scarf like holy relics, and tied that bundle tight. "If you think cutting my hair will make me hide," she told the empty room, "then you have never met my mother's daughter." She stepped outside. The whole village was already whispering. Children pointed. Old women covered their mouths. Men looked away in pity. "Look at Lulu, they shaved her like a sheep. Who could be so wicked?" Lulu heard every word, felt every stare like needles on her naked scalp, but she did not bow her head. She walked straight through the market, chin high, tears still shining on her cheeks, until she reached Amina's tiny mud brick house at the edge of the village. Amina was pounding millet when she saw her best friend. The pestle fell from her hands. "Lulu, my sister." She didn't ask questions. She just opened her arms and let Lulu collapse into them, crying like a baby. They stayed like that for hours. Finally, Amina wiped Lulu's face with the edge of her chiton and said, "Tonight you will not just go to that ball. Tonight you will walk in there and make the ancestors stand up and clap. I have been sewing for 3 years for this moment." She opened an old metal trunk and pulled out the most magnificent gown the village had ever seen. Deep royal blue like the midnight sky, embroidered with golden threads that caught every ray of light, tiny mirrors sewn along the hem that flashed like stars when you moved. Then she brought out the head wrap, silk so fine it felt like water, studded with hundreds of tiny crystals that sparkled like diamonds. "I made this the day your mama died," Amina confessed, tears in her own eyes. "I promised her spirit I would protect your light." When Lulu put on that dress, something supernatural happened. The mirrors on the hem started dancing even though she was standing still. The crystals on the head wrap caught the candlelight and threw rainbows across the walls. Amina stepped back and gasped, "You don't look human right now, Lulu. You look like the moon decided to come down and wear a woman's body." Lulu looked in the broken piece of mirror, and for the first time since the scissors, she smiled. A small, fierce, dangerous smile. "Let them laugh," she said. "Tonight I will teach them what happens when you try to bury a seed. It only grows stronger." The walk to the palace was its own legend. People came out of their houses just to watch her pass. Children ran behind her shouting, "Queen Lulu! Queen Lulu!" Old women threw marigold flowers at her feet. Even the village dogs walked beside her like an honor guard. By the time she reached the palace gates, half the village was following her like she was already royalty. The palace guards, big men with spears, actually bowed as she passed. Inside, the great hall was dripping with wealth, gold cups, silk banners, drummers in leopard skins, hundreds of beautiful girls glittering like a jewelry box. But the moment Lulu stepped over the threshold, silence fell like a curtain. The drums missed a beat. Conversations died mid-sentence. Every head turned. Prince Obasi, standing on the royal dais, felt the air leave his lungs. He had seen every kind of beauty that night. Girls with waist-length weaves, girls dripping in diamonds, girls with skin lightened by expensive creams. But none of them carried light the way this woman in blue did. She didn't just walk, she floated, and the crystals on her head wrap scattered tiny rainbows across the marble floor like she was bringing the Milky Way with her. He didn't wait for ceremony. He walked straight down the steps, through the crowd that parted like the Red Sea, and stopped right in front of her. Up close he saw the tears still shining in her eyes, saw the way her chin trembled even though she stood tall. He saw everything. And instead of asking her name, he simply held out his hand and whispered, "Dance with me, brave one." When their palms touched, Lulu felt something shift inside her chest, like a lock clicking open, like a bird finally set free. They danced, and the entire kingdom watched two souls recognize each other across lifetimes. The lanterns above them flickered like they were shy. The musicians played softer, afraid to disturb whatever magic was happening. And then, in the middle of the dance floor, Prince Obasi did something no one expected. He reached up, gently lifted the edge of her glittering head wrap, and let the light fall fully on her smooth, bald head. Gasps echoed through the hall. Nyoka, standing at the back with Tamina, started screaming, "She's bald! She's ugly! Disqualify her!" But the prince didn't flinch. He smiled the gentlest smile and spoke loud enough for every ear. "I see a queen who walked through fire and came out shining. I see a woman who turned cruelty into diamonds. I see the bravest heart in all of Africa." Then he did what no prince had ever done in the history of the kingdom. He knelt, right there on the marble floor, in front of everyone, and asked, "Lulu, daughter of Asia, will you let me spend the rest of my life protecting the heart that just taught an entire nation what true beauty is?" The yes that left Lulu's mouth was so powerful it felt like the walls shook. The cheers that followed were so loud they say the lions in the game reserve miles away roared in reply. Nyoka fainted dead away. Tamina started crying mascara rivers, but nobody cared. The people lifted Lulu onto their shoulders and carried her around the hall singing the old songs that are only sung when a real queen is born. But besties, the real coronation happened weeks later. And this is the part that still makes me cry every time I tell it. On the day Lulu was crowned, the entire kingdom gathered. The high priests, the elders, the widows, the orphans, everybody came. King Obasi placed the ancient golden crown not on hair, not on a weave, not on anything but the same glittering scarf Lulu had worn the night her destiny changed. Then he stepped back and let her speak. And when Queen Lulu opened her mouth, this is what she said, word for word, and mothers still teach it to their daughters today. "My mother left me two things, a wooden comb and a promise to keep my heart kind. They took my bed, my food, my name, and finally my hair. They thought if they stripped me bare, I would disappear. But tonight I stand before you to tell every little girl listening, every woman who has ever been told she is not enough. They can cut your hair. They can mock your skin. They can steal your voice, but they can never touch the crown that lives in your heart, this scarf you see on my head. From today, let it be called your Rembo wa Moyo, the beauty of the heart. Any girl who has scars, burns, baldness, vitiligo, albinism, stretch marks, broken teeth, anything the world calls ugly, wear this scarf and remember, you are not surviving despite what they took from you. You are reigning because of it." And besties, that day something shifted forever. Girls who had been hiding their bald heads from chemotherapy started tying scarves like Lulu's. Girls with acid burns walked to school with their chins high. Mothers who had lost their hair from stress tied the Yorembo wa Moyo and went to the market like queens. Even grandmothers with white hair dyed it blue and gold just to match their queen. The scarf became more famous than any crown. Traders carried it to other kingdoms. Songs were written about it. And every year on the anniversary of that night, the whole kingdom celebrates the night the moon wore blue. A national holiday where every woman, rich or poor, ties the glittering scarf and remembers. True queens are crowned by courage, not by hair. Years later, when Queen Lulu had 3 beautiful daughters of her own, she never forced them to grow long hair. Instead, every night she sat them on her lap and told them the story of the night someone tried to cut her crown. And when they asked, "Mama, does it still hurt?" she would touch her smooth head, because even as queen, she often chose to go bald under her crown just to remind the world. And she would answer, "Pain visits, my loves, but it never stays where love lives." Nyoka and Tamina, they were given a small house at the edge of the kingdom and told never to show their faces at court again. But one day, 10 years later, an old woman with bent back and gray hair came to the palace gates begging to see the queen. When the guards brought her in, Queen Lulu recognized the eyes immediately. It was Nyoka. She fell at Lulu's feet crying, "I came to ask forgiveness from the daughter I tried to destroy." Lulu didn't say a word. She simply stood up, removed the golden crown from her head, placed it on the floor, and wrapped the Yorembo wa Moyo scarf around Nyoka's old gray hair herself. Then she hugged the woman who once cut her dreams to pieces and whispered, "Even you, Auntie, still have a heart that can be crowned. The palace guards wept. The children watching wept. And somewhere in heaven, Mama Aisha smiled the biggest smile the angels had ever seen. Besties, this is the full, uncut, 100% real feeling legend of Queen Lulu, the girl whose bald head taught Africa that jealousy can cut your hair, but only love can make you royalty. Now I need to hear from you. Drop in the comments. What is your braids that someone tried to cut? Your confidence? Your dreams? Your voice? How did you grow it back stronger? I'm reading every single comment, replying with love, because this channel, the Jones Life Stories Asterisk, is not just stories. It's a sisterhood of queens who refuse to let anyone steal their crown. If this story set your soul on fire, do the 3 royal things. 1. Smash that like button so hard the algorithm bows. 2. Share this video with every queen who needs to remember she is already wearing an invisible crown. 3. Subscribe and hit the bell because every week we bring you more stories that prove. The bigger they try to break you, the louder your comeback roars. I love you more than words, my queens. Stay kind, stay brave, stay crowned even when they try to cut you bald. This is Asterisk the Jones Life Stories Asterisk, and I'll see you in the next one. Moi, Blue Sparkles.